Yes, you can. So direct ownership is now allowed under the implementing regulation. So a company would need to be registered with the Ministry of Investment, and it would need to appoint a designated representative in the kingdom, so under a power of attorney, and open a bank account. It could then purchase land directly in those areas, real estate, land, apartments, buildings, in the designated areas designated for foreign ownership. It could acquire that land to develop, it could buy existing income generating assets, and it can do so directly. Now that can be the case through a company, and it can also be the case through a real estate fund, but subject to the CMA circulars that I mentioned earlier. You must set up a company in Saudi Arabia to acquire. The implementing regulations are very clear in that respect. If you're a foreign company that wants to acquire real estate in the kingdom, you need to be registered with the Ministry of Investment. So typically that means setting up a subsidiary and opening a bank account for that subsidiary to allow you to make that purchase. Companies can, so long as it's for their business purpose. So let's say, for example, you're a logistics company. You can buy a warehouse, you can buy an office, and you can also buy staff accommodation. So if you need to accommodate, like you're a construction company, you have a large labor force, you can buy staff accommodation as well, so long as it's ancillary to your purpose. So if you need bespoke housing for your staff and you're in a remote location, you could buy land and build on that, and that would be permitted, so long as it's for your purposes, the purposes of your business, and ancillary to the activities of the company. There is still a role to play for CMA-regulated funds. They are collective investment schemes, and they allow you to pool investments from many different investors from around the world. It still makes a lot of sense to do so where you're anticipating a diverse pool of investors that want to participate in a project. The role of a single unit holder fund is no longer essential, because you can set up a company to directly own that asset. And that gives you a very powerful tool now to be able to hold real estate in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia without the additional cost burden of a fund structure where you're a single investor or a small pool, a club of investors. Where you're collecting money as a collective investment, then it makes sense to have a real estate fund. So you're limited to the geographical areas. You can only buy in those areas. When you come into the country and you set up your company, you'll be able to get an Iqama, normal Iqama, for 1 year, renewable. And it depends on the nationality. Some nationalities can get longer Iqamas. The same restrictions apply. So you must buy in the designated areas. That's the limitation that applies to you. If you had a premium residency, then you might be able to buy outside of the geographical areas, but only for under 1998 leasehold. But in the scenario, you'd come in under the normal Iqama framework, then you'd get a renewable Iqama, and you would be limited to the geographical zones. Unless a developer was selling land, allowed you to build a villa on it, there aren't any at the moment. You just have to buy whatever product they were offering to you that might be suitable to your family's needs. Ministry of Investment is the first point of contact. You'll need to get a certificate licensing you to establish a company in Saudi Arabia. Once you have that and you've satisfied the Ministry of Investment criteria, then your company registration certificate is issued, and you'll have a company registration with the Ministry of Commerce, company registration certificate, articles of association. You can then proceed to open a bank account and then register with all of the various government portals for tax, payment of social insurance, salaries, and so on.